Richard Connolly here, Registrar of the Anglican Diocese of Gippsland. Today we've invited Danielle Matthews, Treasurer of the Painesville and Bairnsdale parishes, to give us a quick overview of the Quickbooks Reckon online accounting platform. So in this video, she'll give us a run through of the whole set of tools that the platform provides, and then from that we'll break it down to simple step-by-step guides how to do each function. Thank you. So just to start with, Danielle, do you want to log us in and just give us a quick overview on what we see in what we have available to us in QuickBooks?
We want Reckon.
Okay, cut and paste.
Yeah, okay, good. Reckon hosted, that's what we want. So ideally, you would save this page to your favourites. So each time you log in, you're not having to search.
So if anyone who wants to know Bairnsdale's password, it's ...
Okay, and we will launch with the new, this changes every year. It basically changes because it's updating like payroll tax, which is not going to affect the parishes doing bookkeeping, but you have to just start using the new program.
And so from year to year, that rolls everything over that you're using in the last year.
Okay, now a lot of parishes share their logins. So the first login where I popped Bairnsdale and the password, that will get you to here. So obviously Bairnsdale share the bookkeeping with Jono's, their op shop. So Jono's now have a login with their password and Bairnsdale Parish have a login with their password. So for example, Warrigal and Avon share a login. So Warrigal can only log into Warrigal, Avon can only log into Avon. So don't be worried that someone else can log into your parish.
So this is the home page.
This is the home screen.
So before we start diving in, and while it's loading up, can you walk us through and show us what we have here? What are the most common things that we go to?
The most common things are entering bills and paying bills, and essentially it's follow the arrow. Create sales receipts. That's what I would use, or I do use, for entering offertory, entering direct debit offertory. If you've got a rental property and you're getting rent, if people are using your hall and hiring your hall, everything just goes in as a sales receipt rather than invoicing somebody and then receiving their payment.
Good.
Refunds and adjustments would be used very, very rarely. If by chance you did invoice somebody who was going to use your hall or they were going to have a party or something and you've invoiced them and then they've cancelled, then you put through an adjustment. So you'd use that quite rarely. Manage tax is where you go to when you lodge your BAS return and get your refund. Reconcile, you've got to reconcile your accounts every month, and chart of accounts. So there's quite a few things on there that you will never ever use. If you're a first time user and you've set this up, you'll also have a payroll icons that come up. I've just deleted those because obviously we don't use the payroll section. Chart of accounts, I use this a lot. squeeze that all
Stay
over.
there and go back. Can we go back?
Go back, yep.
So let's have a look now at chart of accounts.
Okay.
And this is the standard setup that most parishes could rely on a similar chart of accounts.
I believe so.
Or
Yep.
would they, is it fairly, if a new parish was to come on board using Reckon, could they easily import their existing chart of accounts, or is it a bit harder to do?
Setup does take a while. When you create a Reckon account for the first time, it will give you a set of accounts that believes suits your company. So you can choose that you're a religious organisation, but it puts in a lot of stuff that you really don't need. So chart of accounts, the setup does take a while to delete things that you don't want to use and then to add things that suit your parish.
So assisting other people who are coming on board, could we, for example, copy Bairnsdale's that are fairly standard for one parish and just import it to another account somehow?
Maybe.
So
I've never actually had to import, one from the other.
That's one
So that'll be something we'll look into. Yeah.
So what happens when you go into chart of
accounts? Okay, so chart of accounts, all right, has everything that goes on with your church.
So just so we can see what's going on, might just see if I can make it bigger. No, I can't.
No.
Right.
All right, so you've got your bank accounts. All these other current assets are our ADF and trust accounts. At one stage, they had a lot of books and were counting stock. That's all obsolete now. There's things in here that I'm not going to probably ever use. GST and tax, that's where all the bills you enter, the GST will go into there.
So when you enter an invoice or you enter a deposit, we'll probably go back and have a look, but it gets you to allocate to each account.
Yep.
As to where that cost is going.
Yes. So that's where you get, so these are all of our income accounts. So our offertories are divided into envelope, open plate and direct deposit. So when you create your sales receipt, you would choose where you'd like that to go. If you haul hire, various, like down to your missions income. So every single bit of money has its own income account, and you can have as many or as few as you like.
So parish council decides to start supporting the parish of falling asleep in Zambia. Is it fairly easy to add another mission income?
It is.
Line? You
would just go to account, new. We're going to add an income line and continue. Sleepy Church. Now, we're going to make that a sub-account of missions. Now, I don't know what the mission number is off the top of my head, so I will just use the drop-down. And there's my missions. And if I go to the very last one, I can see that I'm at number 89, so I'll make that 89 100.
Now, just for this purpose, let's not save it.
Okay, so if you save and close that, then on our missions, I would have another mission there.
Good.
If I realised I'd spelt something wrong, one click to highlight it, a right mouse click and edit, change the spelling, fix it up, save and close.
So if someone becomes a new user, that's the process they have to go through in changing their chart of accounts to suit either what they've got or to modify what's ahead of them. Great.
Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to show us here?
So then you've also got all of your expenses, which will be everything that you spend money on in your church. and that's it. Any of these you can open up at any time. Let's go, where would be something?
Let's say flowers. How much are we spending on flowers? I just saw that up there.
Oh.
Maybe it's not being used in this parish.
Flowers, here we go. So someone would like to know what we've spent on flowers rather than going back through all invoices and petty cash receipts. Double click. This is actually showing me already the financial year to date. Again, that's a drop down, so you can choose this month, last year, whatever you like. And that will give you your report on flowers. You can email that to yourself. You can print it off. You can do whatever you like.
Right.
If I wanted to have a look at an individual one, see how that turned up to like Zoom, and I can double click on that, and that actually shows me that.
Sure, so it's petty cash, but if you put in...
And that's where my flowers were in that bunch of petty cash receipts.
So if you wanted to find out, someone's questioning, did we use Interflora or did we pay petty cash? That's where you go to find out that information.
Yeah. So chart of accounts I tend to use a lot. It's the central hub, I guess, because every bit of information is there. And then to get out of that, obviously, just click across back to your home screen.
Great.
When you're creating a sale, okay, so the item, and here's all of the items for Bairnsdale. Each of these items links to the income account in the chart of accounts. Now, items doesn't have, oh yes it does, items does have an icon. So this is a little bit of setup as well. So
for example, in the example we looked at of someone making a $300
donation.
So if that was the first time we'd come across that, we'd have to come in here and set up a donation.
We would. So we would say a new item. Everything is a service. Everything.
So let's say you said Weight Watchers uses the parish,
but
Alcoholics Anonymous also want to rent the hall. So would we create an item for AA, or are we talking something different?
Well, we already have a hall hire.
Hall hire, yes.
But if I wanted a specific hall hire for AA, so that was easy. So I would set up, my item number is now AA hall hire. And the description could be AA hall hire. And I'll just put the little dash so that I can pop dates. When they hire the hall, we're not going to charge them GST, so I'll make that GST free now. And the account, this is where our chart of accounts comes into play. I will choose that it's going to hall hire.
Okay, so
and say okay. So I've now got a new item, and I'm going to invoice them, and my customer is going to be AA. Now I don't have a customer called AA, so I'm actually going to set them up, but we'll actually call it okay, I'll leave it like that at the moment. Alright, so the date. Now my item would be AA hall hire. If I'm trying to put in an item that doesn't exist, it'll say you don't have this. Would you like to add it now? So you can add it in the middle of your sale if you're trying to add something new for the very first time and you forgot to do the item first. So I can create it and say, yep, that's another group that are using the hall. Brenda Burney is going to use the hall.
Hopefully not at the same time as Alcoholics Anonymous.
Hopefully not.
Sorry, Brenda.
So now I have BB whole high as well. So even though you've got your chart of accounts set up, every bit of income only, needs a matching item to match it with the chart.
But when you set up your chart of accounts,
yes,
for example, we'll have your usual suspects, the plate giving, electronic donation.
Yep.
Do you need to set up those separately as well?
I'm just going to get out of here. Do I want to save this? No. So if you look at the item list, all right, we have, okay, so yeah, our offertories, I've set up a direct, envelope and plate. So when I'm creating my sales receipts, I can choose where the offertory has come from. And over here, that's my matching, this is my matching chart of account. So my direct offertories are going into the chart of accounts as direct deposits.
So they all need to be set up when you're installing Reckon for the first time, just like you have at the top, you've got Alcoholics Anonymous, whole hire. At some point you have added offertories direct, Bairnsdale offertory.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot at the start of your setup that you know that you're going to use all the time. So you could set up all your offertories, you would set up your hall high, you would set up all of your missions. If you've got mainly music in your church, you would set up the income from there. So there's a lot that you could set up from day one. And then as you're traveling along and using QuickBooks every week, every month, any new ones that come along, you can add them at any time.
Right. And the reason, one special reason that makes that efficient is that it automatically apportions those costs to the account, the proper account in your chart of accounts in the middle there.
Yeah.
Good. So, using flowers, for example, someone's just gone out and spent $50 on petty cash to buy some flowers for a funeral.
Yep.
How would we record that transaction?
Okay, I will enter a bill. Now, once you start typing, it's automatically going to bring up the account if you've used it before. If you can't remember, drop down screen, all of your suppliers are there, but obviously I know this supplier is petty cash. Pop in the date. The reference number can be whatever you like. It might be your little petty cash receipt number, yes. Could be anything. Okay, we've spent $50 on flowers. And then when I get down to here, I'm just going to type in flowers because I know, again, that's what my account is. If I wasn't sure, again, you can use your drop-down screen and search for flowers. Is it tax-free or does it have GST? I'm going to say flowers incur GST, which is going to be NCG. So NCG and NCF are the two tax accounts that you would always use.
And if you're not sure which one, it's spelled out there. So NCG is incorporating GST, and NCF is GST free. So again, that drop-down bar helps unpack that.
At the bottom, if you always have, you only have to tick this once, and it will stay ticked for every transaction. So all of the amounts I put here include the tax. There's my little tax amount. I will say...
Don't save that. So okay. If you were, you would save and close.
Yep.
So just coming back to that, always include tax. Does that include everything in petty cash or everything from that supplier?
Everything, every transaction.
Sure.
So, and then so even if it was NCF, which is no tax, it's just making that 0. It just makes, if I untick that,
You then have to manually.
yeah, I manually have to work out what the net amount is.
Yes. So if it's not a straight 11%, 10% GST, sorry, you can still say doesn't include tax and then apportion the correct amount of tax to it, or how would you do that? So instead of only a portion of your invoice is taxed, how would you say, so for example, on $50 of flowers,
Yep.
but only $2 tax on it, because for some reason they put fruit and vegetables in there and they're not GST.
Okay, what I would do is say, okay, well, $40 of my flowers were taxed, but $10 weren't. NCF.
Sure.
So I've got tax on the $40 and no tax on the 10.
Right. That's probably rarely going to come up, but as soon as we don't mention it, someone will ask.
We'll ask the question.
So save and close if this was a real transaction.
Yep.
Today we're just going to.
And if you were doing several transactions, if you had another 5 bills to pay, just say save and new,
Yes.
and that will just take you to a new blank screen.
Great.
We will clear all of that.
So the flowers look good, the funeral went down like a treat, and someone made a donation to the church.
Well, once you have those flowers, you need to pay that bill as well.
Okay, take us through that.
So I'll actually enter it because I can remove it later. All right, so petty cash, we'll go back to there. Flowers, XCG. All right, so I'm going to save and close. I've got my flowers in to pay. Follow the arrow, and we're going to pay bills. So here's my petty cash of my flowers. I'm only going to pay that bill, so I will tick that one. That was paid by petty cash. I'm still going to leave this on check, and you'll see why in a minute. If by chance I was paying an electricity bill that came automatically direct debited out of our account, you would choose direct debit. Even though it was paid by petty cash, I'm still not going to choose cash, and I'm going to say assign check number. If you had multiple bank accounts here, you would choose that it's come out of the right bank account, and it's actually come out of petty cash, so I'm going to choose petty cash, and I'm going to pay the selected bill, and in check number I'm going to write petty cash.
And so you use check so it reconciles.
Yes.
With the account.
Yep. And then okay, so it tells me I've paid that. Do I want to pay some more, or am I done? I'm done.
Right. What else should we have a look at? So someone's made that donation at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
$300.
All right, we're going to create a sales receipt. Customer, I'm not sure.
Well, generally,
We'll just say donation.
well, is it the donation or the funeral service? Slips the clergy $300 for running the funeral. Do you have a supplier?
Okay, if I don't have a supplier, okay, so I want to say it was bags, funeral services. I do not have a supplier of bags, so I'm going to type in bags, and then it will ask me, they're not in your customer list, do you want to add them? And I'll just say, yep, I'll just do a fast ad. You could do a full ad, which will take you in and it wants their address, phone number, the works.
So if they're likely to be a regular supplier,
yep.
You would, for example, your power company.
Yes, you would set that up. So the date, sales number, that's just generated itself. Okay, it's a donation?
Yes.
Yep. Donation, I know I've got donations in there. Donation general, that's just the description that I've already preset. If I want to add something to that, I can add whatever I like. They've donated $300, which is GST free. And that money is going to go straight into our check account as soon as someone banks that. But I'm going to show that it's in the bank anyway. And save and close. Now, if I go to my chart of accounts and click on my bank account, there's that $300
Yes.
in my bank account.
All right, so if we follow our arrows,
Mm-hmm.
we've just received, where had we started?
So we're on create sales receipts. Now, create sales receipts, we don't need to follow any arrows. It's a one-step process because we're showing it already to go into the bank account. Some people choose to sit it in undeposited funds.
Yes.
And then deposit it at a later date. That, to me, that's just an extra unnecessary step.
So that's where you, if you chose to do that, that's where you then go into record
Then I would
deposits
say I'm recording a deposit.
when you go down to the bank and put it in.
Yeah, so it's going to go to my check account, and here you would say it's been in, I don't even have undeposited funds. So cancel. But I would suggest if everybody just uses, you're putting it straight into your bank account because you know that it should be banked within that week.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay, so it's Tuesday night, it's Parish Council. We need to generate a report so we can let Parish Council know how our spending's going. How do we do that?
Okay, reports. There are many, many reports in here, and again, there's going to be a lot that you won't use. I have actually popped in memorised reports, the reports that I constantly use for Bairnsdale. Again, that's in the setup, and you can put what you'd like in there. Generally, most of them are in company and financial. So I'm going to go to a profit and loss.
So the two there are profit and loss standard and balance sheet. Is that the two you would use?
They're the two that I would use. So profit and loss standard and balance sheet.
Sure. So let's go through one of them.
Okay, so profit and loss standard. Okay, so that's showing what I've entered for this month. Again, you can, last month, if I forgot to print off reports for April, you can choose whatever dates you want. If you want to do 3 quarters worth, so we're just going to say this month to date. And everything I've entered, so it shows how much were envelopes, open plate, direct deposit. I've got, oh, there's my funeral donation.
So is there a way to track variations against budget?
Yes. We're going to go to budgets report. So we're going to say budget, the profit and loss versus our budget. Next. Finish. So that's showing me July actuals against the July budget, the year-to-date actuals versus the year-to-date budget, and then you've got your annual budget on the end. Every time I create one of these, I tend to email it to myself as an Excel, so then I can just tidy up the Excel.
Yes.
And everything's neat and tidy, and then save it as a PDF. If you send it to yourself as a PDF, there's a good chance that your last column is going to be cut off. And then pop in your
When
email.
you say tidying it up, that printing to one page or?
Printing to one page, pretty much, yeah.
Or also if there are some obsolete line items in there that you might want to hide or delete.
Oh, sorry, yes, I want to cancel I may need to add a line on the bottom
Yes, with some notes.
for some notes. I may need to pop some notes on the side, so that's why I always send it as an Excel,
Sure.
do what I need to do, and then send it out.
What else do you use most frequently?
Reconcile. At the end of every month, you need to reconcile your account. So we could reconcile that petty cash account as of today. We know that there's only $150 in there now because we spent money on the flowers. Oh, so that was my opening balance, sorry. Oh, there should be 200. And that's my flowers. Now, I don't balance. This difference should come back to 0. So I'm going to leave that because what I've done is said that I should have 150 at the end of the day when I've actually got 200. So I'm going to leave that. I'll go back, change that, and continue into the
Do you have
date.
to do that every occasion?
You would reconcile all of your accounts at the end of every month. Okay, now my difference is 0. I can say reconcile now, and we'll print a detailed report. I'll just display that to the screen so it shows that we've spent $50 and we had $250 cash go in to start off our petty cash box. And at the moment I've got $200 in there.
What else would you like to show me? So you showed me the budget. How do you enter
the budget? We would go to company, planning and budgeting, set up a budget. This is the budget that I've already set up for 1920. If I want to create a new budget for 2021, next. And I'm going to create it from scratch. You could create it from your previous year's actual data.
Yes.
But I prefer to do it from scratch because all the data's in there and then I'll get confused. Did I enter that for this year's budget or is that last year's actual? So that's bringing up our chart of accounts, every single account there. And I can put, so you could either go through each month. So if I say, okay, every month out of envelopes, we want $5,000. It's a bit nice price. And I can just say copy across, and it's going to go right across. And you would just keep doing that for every single line. You can save this and then go away, come back at a later date and finish it off because it is quite a big job to do in one hit. You need to make sure you've got some time up your sleeve, and then there it is, ready to keep going.
So we've learned out how to input our budget, how to adjust our chart of accounts to suit our parish circumstances, how to enter a bill.
So we've entered a bill, we've paid a bill, created a sales receipt. If you needed to invoice somebody who was hiring out your hall next month for their party, let's just say Bags are going to hire out the hall. And I'm pretty sure we've got hall hire. Okay, so hall hire. You could put in your dates description there, whatever you like. and the price is going to be $250 for the night. Now, each parish, I think some are a bit different whether they choose to charge GST or not charge GST on their hall hire. I'm going to say that we're not. So, and I'm going to email it, and it's going to come up and tell me that I don't have an email address because I know that I haven't set bags up. For the email address, I'll just email it to myself, and then I can email that to bags, or I would put in their email address. Okay, so I've got an invoice. They have now paid. So again, follow the arrow, receive your payment. So we've received money from bags of, now their invoice has automatically come up. That's what they owe. They've paid the whole lot. They paid on the same day, and they actually paid it directly into our bank account, so I can choose EFT. And it's not going to go to undeposited funds, it's going to go straight into the bank account. Save and close. And again, if I went to the chart of accounts, looked at the bank account, there is bags $250.
So another thing that comes up monthly is our friends from the registry send us an invoice for the B invoice.
Yes.
And that has a component for TGA and insurance and assessment.
Yep.
How do we split all those up?
Okay. We are going to enter a bill to Bishop and Council. Now I've got Bishop and Council Bear B and Bear S because QuickBooks is going to remember or not. Okay, not today, it's making a liar of me. It could actually bring up the figures down here because it's remembered the transaction from last time. Here you could type in your invoice number, whatever it is. Okay, and I'm going to get billed $5,000. Okay, so I've started typing in assessment. QuickBooks thinks that this is my assessment share from Jono's op shop, but it's not. So now I actually have to look for assessment, which is in my expenses, Bishop and Council assessment. Everything from the diocese is tax-free. So $2,000 is our assessment. Insurance is $1,500. What else do we get? TGA, $60. What do we have? Long service leave?
Yes.
Okay, I've just typed in LSL. That's clearly not my code for this. Don't know what the code is, so we will look for it, which will be under clergy. Oh, so mine's super and long service leave together. And I'll say $600, and I'll just put a little memo there that that is long service leave because of these accounts being together. And then 840 is Brenda's super. So they're all split up, and I would save and close that, and then I'm ready to pay that bill whenever. Now, although that bill just had 5 lines to it or whatever, when I go and pay the bill, it's just the one line of the whole $5,000 because the bill has already split it up. And then again, I would say I'm going to pay that by cheque, and in the cheque number, I could either write the cheque number if your parish still pays cheques, or you would write EFT, direct transfer, whatever you like. Now, I've just entered these. Okay, so do I wish to record them? No. If you do something half done in QuickBooks, you can't actually finish anything without a message popping up saying, are you sure you want to do this? Did you want to save this? Now, if I'm looking for a previous bill, so I'm actually going to delete that bill that there's a couple of ways to do it. I could either go on Enter Bills and say previous, it happens to be there because I dated it today, but I might have done that in the middle of the month and I'd be going backwards trying to look for it. Or a quick way is to go to my Supplier Centre. There is my Bishop and Council Bear B account. That's the bill. So you may have just entered a bill totally incorrectly. You may have entered the same bill twice. Don't need it. So open the bill and we can just delete that bill completely. Gone.
Or if you needed to change.
Or if I'd put in a wrong figure, I could then change the figure.
Instead of delete, you edit it.
Yeah. So the Supplier Centre and Customer Centre you would tend to use a lot. So every supplier that you use, whether you're doing a quick add or you've said I'm going to add a new supplier, you would go in here and fill in as much or as little information as you like. You can put in suppliers' bank details. And then if I wanted to have a look at anything, I would just click once. If I click twice, that opens up that page to edit the actual supplier. But if I didn't know, if I wanted to know something about that bill back there, I can just click on that, open that bill. Oh, yeah, that was that. Yeah. And the same with your customers. So you may feel that you don't have customers, but you do actually have customers because entering your offertories, you would either, well, we enter our offertories under Bairnsdale or direct deposit. You might have
parish out centre.
Yeah, you might have a few parish out centres, so you may have quite a few listed there. Parish fair, when we have our parish fair and the money goes in. Okay, haven't had a fair lately. TGA, people paying for the TGA or advertising. We have Weight Watchers who hire out our hall, so they are customers. So you may think that you don't have customers, but you actually do. If by chance I had invoiced somebody who hadn't paid yet, so if Bags hadn't paid, that figure of $250 would still be sitting there. So at a quick glance, I can see who owes money.
So, quarters rolled around and it's time to submit our VATs.
All right. Reports. Tax. Okay, so you're going to, oops, down there. You're going to print the tax liability. So this is taking me back to last quarter. So I would print off the tax liability report and we're up for a bit of a refund. So I would print that off. And then you need to fill in those figures into your BAS return. If you're not sure what figure goes where, you say, I want to do a simplified BAS report. You need to configure your report, and we're doing the quarter beginning in April. Okay, and it'll think about it. Okay, now it's just popped up, so that's the figure I need to put in G1. Next page.
So with that report you previously printed out, you just check that it's reported to the right boxes.
And we didn't receive any GST, but we've paid GST out on our bills, and that 332 matched the tax liability report, so that's a good check and helps you fill out your form quite easily. So you still need to send off your paper form. You can't print that off and send that one, but it shows you where the figures go. Then when you get your money back, you would click on, so you've discovered in your bank statement that you've received your money. You would click on Manage Tax. I've received a tax refund. This line will automatically come up for you. Make sure again that it's going into the right bank account. Choose the date that it went into your bank account. Pop the amount of money in, save and close. Do I want to record it? No. If you had to pay tax, you would just say, I'm paying tax. Put in the amount. And save and close. And then pay the ATO. Just because you've entered it in QuickBooks, you still need to pay them.
And so then you record that as a pay an invoice?
No, it's a one-step. So by clicking on Pay Tax, essentially that's created like a check type thing. Up there, you could either write your check number or you could write EFT or BPay if you were going to BPay that bill. No, and how you would see, so if I go to my chart of accounts and I choose GST, so all the movements of GST, so here this 333 for example, that was our deposit because that was our tax refund that we received last week. So this, I keep pointing my finger, this figure is going to go up and down with all of the invoices and all of the sales that you're constantly popping into QuickBooks.
What else do we need to look at?
I think that might be nearly it. Oh, that would be the other thing. Okay. When it is time to log out, you do need to make sure that you have logged out fully, because if the other parish logs in and you haven't logged out properly, the other parish will log in to your accounts. So you would say File, close your company, and that will take you back to this screen. Once you've seen this screen, you know that you've logged out correctly. Get rid of the first screen, and yes, you want to leave. Then you will go into your settings and you will log out again.